Detroit is the Hebrew Israelites that stand on the side of the street and preach with a microphone.
How you doing? I got a snow bunny. Yeah. I mean, for sure.
I love encountering them. I love inquiring to them because I'm always learning something. Not necessarily a fact. It's not factual always, but it is stuff. And I'm learning stuff. I love learning stuff, whether it's factual or not. For example, last time I encountered them, I was told that white people don't have a pineal gland. Why? Because they don't have melanin. Now, you may be confused how these two correlate. They don't. It's just that melatonin sounds like melanin, and the dude was confused. So there's that one. I also learned that albino does not exist without a black person involved. So how are we explaining albino animals? My favorite though, and I will never get over this, my favorite is the first white man, Esau, right? Because before Esau, everybody was black. And then Esau came along with the first white man. So if the first white man came from two black people, wouldn't that make the first white man black? Just a thought. I don't get it. Ask a Hebrew Israelite, maybe they could explain. I can't explain that, but I think about it a lot. I love the Hebrew Israelites.
All right. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all glory, praises, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to the brothers that's teaching his truth and sincerity. And shalom to the hopeful elect, the 1/3, the sincere listeners. All right, Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahushai being the name of the Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This gospel is truth, the kingdom of heaven, and salvation is for the Israelites, who are you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. All right, and the ones scattered abroad across the four corners of the earth that may look like the other nations, where your spirit resonates with this truth. All right. Yeah, so pretty much this is just going to be a response to this video. I love the Hebrew Israelites, right? And just to clear up any confusion that this individual has that appears to be an Edomite, but I believe through the spirit that she's an Israelite. That's just my personal opinion, but whatever. And that's why she kind of has an affinity with the Hebrew Israelites. So I guess whenever she sees them, she'll walk up to them and ask them questions. However, she hasn't come across GMS, right? Great Millstone. She hasn't come across the Great Millstone camp to get the proper and true understanding. So that's why I'm doing this response to her questions, and I'm going to bring out some scriptures to back it up, or whatever, back up my point. And yeah, so I think the first thing she said, she made mention of, was how you need only melanated people have a pineal gland, and that's not the case. Everybody has a pineal gland. All right, Salakia. All right, but yeah, like I said, everybody has a pineal gland. So whatever teaching that, wherever camp she was in, that was off, right? Now the second point she had made was towards the was because of albinoism in animals, and pretty much she was saying how if albinoism comes from black people, how do you explain albinoism in animals? Well, the thing is, albinoism is something that can occur amongst animals as well, not just amongst so-called Israelites or Negroes, so to speak, right? It's not that so-called black people were having intercourse with dogs or animals in order for the animals to then be able to have the gene of albinoism. That doesn't make any sense. So if that's what you're alluding to, that's not the case. It's nothing for the Heavenly Father, right, to make a variation of an animal, right? You have black lions, or or very very white lions. Like there's albinoism in animals, right? But that's due to the fact that the Most High set that up as well. Okay. And now the final statement that she said was that if two black people created an albino person or a white person, wouldn't that white person, the first white person, which was Esau, wouldn't that white person be black? And I'm gonna prove that in the scriptures. So I'm gonna get that and prove that in the scriptures, okay, and show you how that is not the case in this situation. All right, so we're gonna get Genesis 25. And like I said, I believe this girl is an Israelite. However, she just bugged out. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. She kind of reminds me of freaking Slim Shady. All right. So this is Genesis 25. And I'm gonna start at Genesis 25 and 21. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, If it be so, why am I thus? They were wrestling in the womb, okay? And she went to inquire of the Lord Yahweh. The twins in her womb were wrestling. All right, so she's, praying and complaining to the Lord what's going on. And the Lord said, this is what the Lord said, okay? Here's the point. And the Lord Yahweh said unto her, Two nations are in thy womb. Okay? Two nations. Two separate nations. Okay, so even Rebecca understood what the Lord was telling her when Isaac entreated. Okay? Right? Because Isaac was the one that went to the Lord to pretty much ask on behalf of his wife. But when Isaac explained this to his woman, she already knew that these would be two separate lineage of people. She already knew that it'd be a race. These would be two races of people. Okay? And it says, And the Lord said unto her, Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. All right? That manner goes into mannerisms. Okay? Just totally different. Okay? One would act a certain way, one would act another way. Okay? And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Okay? And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, and the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. All right? So they're explaining how Esau came out. Esau, see, the thing is with you so-called white people is that you're not white. You're derivatives of red. Okay, from pink to red, pale pink to red. Okay, you're not white. Nobody on the earth is white. Okay, I got pick up a pair of Air Force Ones that are all white. That's white. You see what I'm saying? My T-shirt, it's all white. That's white. If you put on a white T-shirt and you're so-called white, you're gonna see the contrast in the and the color, right? You know, like you realize that you're not white. Nobody on the planet Earth is white, and nobody on this planet Earth is black. All right. Most people on the Earth are derivative of brown, from light to dark brown. Okay. And you Edomites, or you so-called white people, and I would say you Edomites. You have some of our people that do look like these so-called white people. Sorry, there are some Israelites that do look like the other nations. Okay, that do look like so-called white people. Right? Like I said, I think she's one of them. You know, but she'd have to go. But whatever. I'm putting this out into the universe anyway. So if she sees this, then hopefully this answers your question. All right. So the mannerisms in the of the two people will be different. So the Lord has already automatically separated the nations. Okay? And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And we know who the stronger people are, all right, which is the Israelites and so called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You are stronger than the so called white man as a whole. And it says, jumping down to verse 26, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel. This is very symbolic. And his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. Okay. It says, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. Alright, you know anything about the so-called white man in his spirit? He's always into hunting. He always hunting season. He always has a rifle to go hunting ducks and whatever. Alright, that's the spirit of the so-called white man. Jake, you know, he just like to chill, not in a bad way, but like, cookouts, right? Plain man dwelling in tents, right? So you got cookouts, barbecue, kickback, chilling. You see what I'm saying? That's more of a Jake vibe. That's Jacob's vibe. All right. And Isaac loved Esau, but he did eat of his because he did eat of his venison. But Rebekah loved Jacob. Okay. Now notice they didn't explain what Jacob looked like. All right, because everybody at the time had pigment, had melanin. All right. But going back to Esau being the first so-called white man, that's actually not the case. Um, when you go into Genesis 4, the mark of Cain that the Lord put on Cain, all right, that was technically the first so-called white man, so to speak. Okay. Also all right. Genesis 4 and 8. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? All right. And he said, and this is the spirit of the so-called white man. It didn't manifest yet, but this is spiritually Esau's forefather, man. In the spirit, or Esau in reincarnation, or Esau's predecessor, I should say, before Esau, right? Cain. And he said, what has, and Cain means weapon in the Hebrew, Qayan. All right. If you know anything about the so-called white man, okay, he's his blessing will be the sword. All right. Let's see if we can get that real quick. Salakia. Let me grab this quick. Genesis 27:38. Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau also Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Okay, so the blessed part of his blessing is that he would rule by the sword. He would get everything by the sword. He would conquer by the sword, and he loves the sword. Okay, it's pretty much the Heavenly Father's whipping stick on the earth right now. Okay, especially unto you Israelites. All right, so going back to Genesis 4 and 10, and he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cried unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord Yahweh said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. Okay, and that mark was the pigment. Was the Lord taking away his pigment? Okay, the Lord took away Cain's pigment. So if people saw him, they would want to kill him. He's unclean, right? But they're not. But then the judgment of that was that sevenfold would be taken place on the person that executed him, right? So just like in this kingdom, Esau doesn't really care if niggas kill niggas. He'll still lock niggas up for that shit or whatever if he can, right? But if a nigga kills a so-called white man, okay, he's throwing the whole book at him. You see what I'm saying? He's gonna be put under the jail, so to speak, thrown under the jail. That's that sevenfold judgment, okay? And it's all spiritual, okay? But that was the mark, and Cain was actually quote unquote the so-called first white man, so to speak. All right, but that just goes pretty much into the albinism that he had. But let me get this Google overview. Albinism is a genetic condition characterized by a reduction or absence of melanin, the pigment that gives color to skin, hair, and eyes. This lack of melanin leads to various physical traits, including very light skin, white or light-colored hair, and pale eyes. Vision problems are also common in individuals with albinism. Melanin is produced AI is the devil because they're not gonna go into who carries albino. Which you gotta ask here, which race of people, which race of people is albinus most common? Which race of people is most common? Albinism affects people of all races, but the prevalence varies across different populations. It's most commonly observed in sub-Saharan African populations, where it can occur as frequently as 1 in 5,000. In contrast, and in Europe and North America, the prevalence is closer to 1 in 20,000. All right. So see, the thing is, they're also being the devil by labeling it to a landmass and not a group of people, which is what they should be doing. Okay, but through common sense, we know that it's most common in so-called black people. All right, because if I type in, can two black people have a white child, it's gonna pop up. Can two Yep. It is possible for two black people to have a white child, but not the other way around. The main reason is that skin color is determined by the amount of pigment called melanin. Okay, and then you can go into the images and you can see that two black people can have a so-called white child. All right, and that's happened, and that's what was basically being explained in Genesis 25 with Jacob and Esau. All right, so it is possible. All right, and these devils know it. Okay, because through so-called black come all pigments. All right, you can have two dark-skinned individuals have a child, Israelites, and the child just comes out light skin. Not to say they're albino, but they just come out light skin. Does that mean that that's not their parent? That's not their parents? No, man. Okay, you could have a sibling. You could have a sibling, the same, especially in a so-called black household, whatever, right? And maybe I might save this for the thumbnail. Uh, yeah, I might save this one. Save image, right? I might not even need to save it for that thumbnail, cause yeah, okay, whatever. Regardless, um, you can be like I said, my point being that you can have siblings, same parents, in a so-called black household, and you're brown skin, your other sibling is dark skin, and your other sibling is a lighter brown than you, lighter skin brown than you. You see what I'm saying? But it's all the same parents. You see what I'm saying? That's kind of how it is in so-called black households sometimes, right? The Lord is about variety. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of you people need to understand that on them slave ships, not everybody was dark skinned, man. It was derivatives of brown Israelites, right? So-called Negroes or whatever, but it's derivatives of brown. Okay, this is not a this is not a hard concept to grasp. All right, you people like to make things harder than it really is and sensationalize shit, but it's not that serious, not that deep. All right. Um, I think that was pretty much the point, though. Um, let's see. Yeah, that was it. I'm gonna end it off there, and Lord will, you're edified. And say shalom.